All right, just 2 sections left to go. We're gonna do architecture, and then photography will be our last section. So, architecture. Is architecture really art? Do you ever look at a building and go, ooh, that's art? Well, it is. Okay? It is art. Architecture is inhabited sculpture. Architecture is like a mythical and fantastic. It has to be experienced. It can't be described. We can draw it up, but if we can make models of it, but it can only be experienced when it is done as a whole. Okay, we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. It's an art form. Okay, so architecture, as opposed to engineering, which is the math and science behind building making, architecture is that creative conservation of space. So architecture creates a strengthened hierarchy in the interrelationships of earth and sky and what's in between. So what do we call it when we can see all the tops of the buildings of a city? We call it its skyline, okay? So that skyline is that space that draws the sky and the earth together. So centered space. It's the arrangement of things around some paramount thing, the place where other things seem to converge together. That word converge means come together. Centered space draws us in. So sometimes it's centered around a natural site like a river or a canyon or a mountain, but usually it's like a man-made site or a human-made structure. So my good Catholic kiddos, where is this? It's in Rome, you're good, okay. In the Vatican City, St. Peter's Basilica, it's where the Pope lives and gives Mass out of this little window right here. Normally full of people, but right now it's empty because of COVID-19. And so everything kind of converges right here in this centered space. It kind of draws you in. Even cities are designed with that central or centered space. Most of the cities in Europe have a town center. If you ever watch House Hunters International, which is like one of my favorite shows, they're always like, ooh, I want to be close to the town center, okay? Because that's where all the other buildings seem to converge. This is Barcelona. Here's the Sagrada Familia that we have a picture in the back of our classroom about the Sagrada Familia, where you can see that all the city blocks are centered around a space. So that's the way they built their city. Anybody recognize this? Also empty right now. Has the big golf ball looking thing when you walk in. And then there's different kind of countries all around. Anybody ever been to Epcot? Well, this is Epcot, and they built it around a centered space. So it all makes a circle. Living space. Living space is the comfortable positioning of things in the environment. So, which one of these would you say is the most comfortable living space? Would you pick this one? Do you know where this one is? It's in the White House. This is the Red Room in the White House. And it's specifically meant not to be comfortable. They want people to walk in there and feel the power and the ornateness and it's the uncomfortableness. They want people to be uncomfortable in this room. Who picked this one? Kind of centered, okay, so you have it centered around the TV. And then who picked this one? To me, this is the most comfortable one because all of the seating is centered around a central object and the fireplace and the TV. So to me, this one's off center because there's a chair over here in front of the fireplace, and that like doesn't jive with me. But so your living space has to do with that comfortable positioning of things, the environment. So there's this stuff called earth-rooted architecture, and there's some other types of architecture that, yes, you need to know the names. But if you speak it the English, you got this, okay? Earth-rooted architecture draws our attention to the site or the earth, okay? of the building. Its submission to gravity, it uses raw materials, and its centrality in inner and outer space. So, sites whose surrounding environment can be seen from great distances are especially favorable for helping a building to bring out the earth. This is Mont Saint-Michel, okay? It can be seen from a great distance, off into the distance. I was going there this summer before COVID-19, but I guess we're just gonna have to take a virtual vacation.
Today is an amazing day. We're gonna get on this bus here in Paris. It's gonna magically whisk me to the fairy tale land of Mont Saint-Michel. Let's go. Oh, it's adventure time. Let's go check out Mont Saint-Michel. So this island is actually a tiny little town. There's little alleyways everywhere, shops, restaurants, and abbey. And it's time to go get lost. Come on. This area has been home to shops and stalls since the Middle Ages, and that tradition continues today. You can buy any kind of souvenir, albeit a little bit more modern than back in the day, but they're staying true to how it used to be. I like to come to places like this and just imagine what life used to be back in the day. And it's fun to think how this was a fully functioning little society on this tiny island. I'm at the tippy top of the island inside of the abbey now, and the construction here started in the 10th century. And it's astonishing to think that it's in this good of shape for being that old. I just stepped out of the abbey into a little garden. There's flowers, all these old columns surrounding a patch of grass and bushes. I gotta say, this is my favorite spot. I think I have successfully walked through every alleyway, checked out the abbey. Now it's time to get back on the bus and head back to Paris.
Alright, maybe next year, right? Maybe we should get up a trip and we could all go to Paris or France next year. I think that would be fun. So materials used for earth-rooted architecture. You can use natural raw materials: stone, wood, clay, and marble. This is called Falling Water. It's a house designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, who's a famous American architect, in 1939. And so it's all made of these raw materials, even though most of the furnishings are made by natural raw materials, and it promotes the earthiness of the architecture. All right, let's go on another little vacation.
No trip to Pittsburgh would be complete without a trip to Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water. The main house was built in 1936 to 1938, and the guest house was completed in 39. Since that time, 4.5 million people have gone through Falling Water to check it out. And today, I'm one of them. Falling Water sits on 5,000 acres of the Bear Run Nature Preserve. You feel like you're living in the woods. It's humid, it's lush, it's beautiful, and the sound of the water is everywhere. When you get to Falling Water, you realize what an incredible privilege it must have been to be one of the guests. To see something that I'd only seen in books and to see it up close, be in that environment, I was ready to move in.
I'm here in Mill Run, Pennsylvania at the world famous Frank Lloyd Wright House, Falling Water. It's spectacular.
Even though Falling Water accommodates thousands of visitors, it's very intimate.
Alright. Maybe I can get there this summer, huh? We'll see. Alright, so the Parthenon in Athens, Greece is an example of earth-rooted architecture. Well, let's figure out why. It's made of marble, okay, so which is a stone. It's a natural element. It has horizontal and rectangular that follows an even plane, accentuating its gravity to earth. And it sits on top of an acropolis, which is a type of hill, okay? So you can see it from far away, providing that natural center. The inner centrality of the Parthenon was considered weak because its inner space is so divided. So if you think about ancient Greece, which is where it's at, it's in Athens, Greece. Have you ever seen the movie Hercules? Well, there's a lot of little G gods in Hercules, right? Zeus and Athena and all that kind of stuff. So they worshipped a lot of little gods in Greece back in the day. And so this was a temple to all those gods. So there was a lot of divided space in the Parthenon. So there's no really certain centered space. All right, then there's sky-oriented architecture. Remember I told you to speak up the English, right? So if it's sky-oriented, where's your eye going to go? To the sky, okay? So all of your tall buildings like Rockefeller Center and the Empire State Building in New York City are sky-oriented architecture. Appears to defy gravity, stands high and centered, and integrates outer and inner light. It does not emphasize or accent the earth around it. You wouldn't go stand in front of this building and look down, right? No, you want to look up at the building. So it's sky-oriented. Earth resting architecture. It appears to rest on the earth. Okay, it uses the earth as a platform with the sky as a background. Buildings relate more or less harmoniously to the earth. So this was a house designed, it's the Farnsworth residence, designed by Van der Rohe in Plano, Illinois. And even the walls inside the house are glass. So what's that saying? Shouldn't throw, is it like something like you shouldn't throw stones in glass houses or something like that? I don't know, something like that. Anyway, so interesting earth resting architecture. I don't think I could live in a house that's just windows. Not a whole lot of privacy, right? And then there's our dominating architecture. It appears to dominate or rule over the earth. Speaking the English, people, okay? With a sense of power and aggression. So St. Peter's Basilica or Cathedral that we saw earlier, where the Pope lives, has a lot of vertical lines and tends to dominate over all the other buildings around it. Why do you think the church built it that way? What were they trying to say? They were powerful, okay? So it is the supreme example of earth dominating architecture in Western culture. City planning. City planning is viewed from an architectural perspective because of the problems related to the conservation of space and making it available to people. So, New York City, there's a problem with traffic and need more buildings and need more space for people, right? So, the Metropolitan Life Insurance Building, instead of building it on the sides, they built it right over the street and the cars go underneath it. Why could a building like that not be built today? What kind of problem do you think they might have today if you allow cars and trucks to drive under a huge building that houses lots of people, especially in New York City? Probably the number one thing that would be against that now would be because of 9/11 and terrorist problems. So because if you filled a truck full of dynamite and then parked it under this building and then set it ablaze, then there goes the whole building. So that would not pass today. And I think since 9/11 they have closed that part under the building. I don't think you can drive under it anymore. What about San Antonio? Has anybody ever been to San Antonio to Riverwalk? Well, this was a blighted, rundown area a couple of years ago. And the city planners went to some architects and were like, hey, we want to revitalize this area. What can we do? And they designed it. They designed a canal to go through it. So it would draw people in and put some posh shops and restaurants and stuff in there and gave some economic incentives for businesses to come down there, and it created a whole little tourist area down there. All right, so let's look at some inspirational buildings. What do you think inspired this building? It looks like a sail ship to me, right? What's the, well, at the time, I think there's another one now. It's the world's first 7-star hotel. The rooms start at $10,000 a night. My brother-in-law's brother is an artist, a famous Islamic artist, and he has some paintings and stuff that this hotel commissioned for him. So they commissioned the paintings, and he got to go and actually stay there. So it's pretty cool. I love this apartment building in Sweden. It looks like a turning torso. Looks like a turning body. His house in China. It's a cello and a piano. The Lotus Temple in India. Looks like a lotus flower. The downtown library in Kansas City. Looks like a bunch of books. And this is the office building for a washing machine company in Mexico City. And so one of your projects is to draw a city block using 1-point perspective. I'll put another video out there of how to do that. It's super easy. All you need is a ruler and a sheet of paper and a pencil, and you got this, okay? All right, so that wraps up architecture, and the only notes left in the whole unit is photography, and I'll do that one next.